That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. That's actually a really good idea. That's not a bad idea at all. That's not such a bad idea. That's actually a very good idea. Alright, that might be a good idea. How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf. Should I roll up my sleeves? Maybe not. Maybe I'll try with that. I don't know. We'll see. Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Lamed Aleph. Daf 31. BavaMetzia, friends. It's a big old Daf. It's not really hard. It's somewhat interesting. Okay. We're going to start on... Actually, I feel like there's actually a big Yesod here on this Daf. Big. Anyways, we're going to start on Daf Lamed Amud Beis. And here's the thing. I got to figure out where we're going to stop. I know where I'm going to stop now. But right before Shabbos. I should have enough time to do the whole Daf. If I don't, then that means it's going to be super long. But I don't think it will be. But I think maybe I'll actually do this in 2 sittings. I'll just do like the last shtickle maybe in the second. I'll basically do the whole Daf. And then there's just a little bit at the end that I didn't get to yet. And then it'll take us to a Mishnah. So I think maybe I'll do that in a separate sitting. I'll just wrap it up separately. Just so that we can get this whole Daf up to the Mishnah in one recording. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Yeah, it's probably a very good idea. Okay. So we're going to start at the Mishnah on Daf Lamed Amud Beis. Okay. Like, I don't know, 15 lines from the bottom or so. Okay, here we go. Is my beard wet? Why would my beard be wet? Is my hands wet? Maybe my hands are wet. We got work to do. Ezu Aveda. This says in the Mishnah, what? This is awesome. What is considered an Aveda? Okay. If he sees a donkey or a cow grazing on the way, Einzo Aveda. That's not Aveda. You don't have to do a Shabbos Aveda. I'll tell you why this is pretty awesome. The reason why this is pretty awesome is because I left my house earlier and I was going to the wine store and I noticed there next to the garbage there was a chair and somebody was looking at it, meaning, no, what happened? You tell me. Clearly somebody left a chair there for, it's Hefker. Whoever wants it can take it. The interesting thing is, I'm learning BavaMetzia and I'm walking by and I'm thinking, wait, but, do I need to find the owner of that chair and return it? I was trying to think why can I take that? It's not a lost object, right? It's not, I don't know, I was trying to, we haven't really talked about scenarios where somebody left something. We've talked about where somebody put something there and therefore you can't take it because somebody left it there with the intention to retrieve it. We've talked about that. We've talked about where people lost things and can you take it or do you have to, announce it? We haven't really talked about where what if somebody just leaves something by the garbage and whoever wants it can take it. I don't think we've really talked about that. So it sounds to me though, which is funny because I got home, literally when I got home from the wine store, I was reviewing this and I was wait, this I think this is exactly what I was thinking, right? So meaning not every single time, and this is the point. This is the point I want to make from this Mishnah, which is not every time, right? What does the Mishnah say? It says, "Ezohi Aveda." What's considered something that I actually have to return? Not every single thing that you see without an owner next to it is something that you have to return. So we're saying, Ezohi Aveda. What is a lost object that would be considered under the umbrella of Hashavas Aveda that you have to return it? So, Matza Chomer or Para Royim Baderech Ein Zo Aveda. So if you see a donkey or a cow grazing next to the road, this is not something that you have to now take and find the owner and make announcements and the whole thing. No, the owner is whoever owns it is cool with the animals grazing there by the road. And it's okay, you could chill out. Meaning, it's interesting, there's a certain assumption that the owner whoever owns it knew what they were doing by in this case allowing the cow or the donkey to graze. By the case of the chair by the garbage dump, they left it there, they were mafkir it, they know what they were doing, you can, so I mean, the case of the cow and stuff, you can't take it because it's not hefker, but over here, he was mafkir it, and therefore you can take it. I assume that's pshat, or at least something similar. Fine, so Enzo Aveda, Chomer v'kelav afuchin. However, if you see a donkey and its load is flipped over, para rotzo ben akram, or a cow running in a vineyard, where, as we can see later, it can get hurt. Harei zoved. Okay, this is already a different story. That would be considered something that you'd have to return. That would be ashavas aveda. Echzira uvarcha. If he keeps on returning it, right? He returns the donkey or whatever. It runs away again. He returns it again. Runs away again. Even if this happens 4 times, 5 times, you keep on returning it. Shenemer, as the pasuk says, Hashev teshivem, you shall surely return it, even if it means over and over, repeatedly. Oyobatel misela. What if he was, what if he was going to stop what he was doing? He was working on an hourly basis. He was getting paid by the hour. He stopped what he was doing in order to do Hashavas Aveda. Lo yomar lo, he can't say to the loser, Tain li sela, give me my full wages that I was making 1 sela an hour, and I want you to pay me, I want you to pay me that sela. So no, it doesn't work like that. Elenos no schar kefoil. No, he pays him he pays him for his time, but he's going to pay him for his time as how much you would pay somebody to return something to you. That's very different than how much would you pay somebody who's a lawyer or something. Those wages are going to be very different. So he only has to pay him. He only needs to pay him the amount that somebody would charge to return something. Im yesh, or to walk something to somebody else. Im yesh sham bezdin. Now, but if there's a bezdin over there, if there are 3 people there, so you could say to them, Masna b'fnei bezdin, you could say, look, I'm only returning this if I'm going to be paid my normal wage. So basically, it makes some kind of a condition. Where am I? So im yesh sham bezdin. If there's a court there, masna b'fnei bezdin. He makes a condition before bezdin. So I don't. Maybe the Gemara is going to explain this. Maybe this is the shtickle that I haven't done yet. But somehow he makes a stipulation before bezdin that, look, I'm only going to return this lost object if I get my paid my hourly wage that I get paid for my work, not for just returning a lost object. So if there are 3 people there, and 3 people are bezdin, and he says to them, look, I'm only going to return this under the condition that I get paid my regularly hour rate, so then he's allowed to do that. Now, who exactly is going to guarantee this, right? I mean, who's agreeing to pay him this? I'm not exactly sure. Im Ein sham bezdin. Now, if there's no bezdin over there for him to make this stipulation before them, bifnei mi yasne, so he can't. Who can he make this stipulation in front of? Shelo kodem. The answer is nobody. So therefore, he continues doing his own work, and he won't need to, and he doesn't need to stop what he's doing to return this. Now I'm going to roll up my sleeves. Now says the Gemara, Otokolhani da'aminon lava vedavu ua. So this Mishnah had started out by saying, Ezui Aveda, what's considered a lost object? What do you mean, what's considered a lost object? We've been talking about lost objects from the beginning of the Perek. Peris mifuzar and most mifuzar, so all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden, on Daf Lamed, after we've been learning BavaMetzia for a week already, they decide, okay, what's considered a lost object? I don't understand. What about everything we've talked about until now? So Rav Yehuda says, Rav Yehuda Achi Kama, this is what it's saying. Ezo hi klal Aveda shu chayiv ba. What is kind of a general rule that we can apply to what would be considered a lost object that you would be chayiv to do the whole Hashavas Aveda thing? So Matzachamer Ufara Roim Baderech, if he finds a donkey or a cow grazing by the road, Ein so Aveda, this would not be considered something that you have to do Hashavas Aveda for. V'lo mechayiv ba, there's no chiyuv Hashavas Aveda. Chamer v'chelev afuchim. If you find a donkey with its load flipped over, or you see a cow that's running in a vineyard, this is something that is considered lost and umichayva, and you need to return it to its owner. Now, for the Gemara, when we say that if you see a cow grazing on the road, you don't have to do Hashavas Aveda forever. If every single day you see this cow grazing by the road, you should never think, wait, maybe I should actually return this. So Rav Yehuda Amar Rab says Rav Yehuda Amar Rab for 3 days. If like on day 4 you see, wait, this is strange. All of a sudden I'm seeing this cow every single day. I should probably make sure that it gets back to its owner. Hey Chidami, now what's the scenario? Ibele losa, bilel vasa. Afilu chada shaitanami. Look, if you're seeing this animal grazing on the side of the road at night, okay, even you don't have to wait 3 days. I mean, it's clearly you should return that immediately. Ibiyamam, and if it's during the day, afilu tuvanami lo. I mean, even if you see this animal grazing during the day, every day, forever, who cares? It's just grazing during the day. That's normal. You don't need to return it. Lo tzricha dehava chazila bikadmoso v'cheshchisa. Okay, so I think what it means is that you're seeing it kind of like in these like awkward hours that are a little bit unclear, like a little right before it gets light or right when it gets dark. Things that like are a little bit strange, but not necessarily entirely strange, right? Amina nisra my tlasa. So for the first 3 days, Amina nisra muye isramila v'nafka. Okay, look, something happened and it got out beseder. Tfei, but more than that, avedahi. It is considered a if you after that it's like, all right, you just return this animal. We also learn in the Brisa that there's this 3-day thing. Matzatalas v'kardom. If you find a cloak or an axe be'esratya in some like public area, ufara rotza ben akram, or a cow that is running in the vineyards, harizo aveda, it is a lost object. You got to return it. Talis bitzad goder kardom bitzad goder. If you see a cloak next to a fence or a axe next to a fence, ufaroe bin akromim, or a cow grazing among the vineyards, einzo aveda, it is not considered in aveda. Gimel yom ze'achar arizo aveda. But if you see this for 3 days straight, then it would be considered an aveda, and you would have to return it. Ma'amayim sheshotfin. And if you see water that is coming in the direction of your friend's field and it's going to flood the field, so put up some kind of a dam, try to stop it. Put up some kind of a fence, try to stop the water from flooding your friend's field. Rava says that when it says any lost object you have to return, it even includes a friend who's going to lose his field, that his friend's field is going to get ruined, you should save his field from that. And says of Chanani to Rava, I can bring you a brisa that supports you, the brisa that we just learned. That if you see water that's going to come and flood your friend's field, you should dam it. You should try to stop it. So you should try to stop it and prevent it from ruining your friend's field. Also, you see that you should prevent your friend's field from being ruined. On my lay, so Rav responds to Rav Chananya, imishum ho lo tesai. That actually isn't necessarily a proof, because we could say that in the Brisa when it says you should dam the water or whatever. There are sheaves of wheat in the field. So, but if there are sheaves of wheat on the field, so obviously you have to return. You have to return those sheaves, and you want to prevent them from getting ruined. So you could say it's talking about that there are sheaves that are still attached to the ground and need to be sustained from the ground. So may have thought maybe I think that would be treated like the land, and Taka, maybe you would say that you don't need to save the land. Kamash Milan, it's saying that no, the sheaves in this context you do have to save. So Rav is saying that this isn't necessarily a proof that you have to save the land. It could Taka be saying that you don't necessarily need to save the land, you only need to save the sheaves that are on the land, that even though they still need the land, they're considered that you still need to save them. Maybe you could say that that's what's going on in the Brisa, and it's not necessarily a support for Rav who says you have to save somebody else's property. Alright. Matzah, Chomer, Ufara, v'chulei. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie. Hagufa kasha, says the Gemara, this is inherently contradictory. Omart motza chamru for roin baderech einzo aveda roin baderech hu delo avu aveda rotza baderech v'roi ben akram avu aveda emasefa chamru v'chilav afuchim ufar rotza ben akram arezo aveda rotza ben akram hu de avu aveda rotza baderech v'roi ben akramim ein zo aveda. Okay, chevre, here's the kasha. Our Mishnah had said, of course, that if you see a cow or a donkey grazing on the road, so we say it's not a lost object. You don't have to do Hashavas Aveda. Okay, and then we said that if you see a cow running in a vineyard, that is considered a lost, and you would have to return the cow. So here's the thing. We have a cow running through a vineyard and a cow grazing on the road. So we have running, grazing, road, vineyard. So first we say that if it's grazing on the road, it is not considered lost. The implication being that if it's grazing in a vineyard or if it's running on a road, either of those scenarios would be considered lost. But then we said that if it's running in a vineyard, it's considered lost, implying that if it's running on the road or grazing in a vineyard, it would not be considered lost. So when it comes to running on the road or grazing in the vineyard, we're getting mixed messages. From the Reisha, it implies that it would be considered lost. From the Seif, it implies it would not be considered lost. And our brains explode. Okay. So let's read that again, much slower. Hagufa kasha, this is inherently contradictory. On the one hand, Amart matza chamru fara roin baderech einzo aveda. On the one hand, you said if you find a donkey or a cow grazing on the road, I hope derech means road. Let's just say that on the road, einzo aveda. So this is or by the road, that's a good compromise. By the road, einzo aveda. This is not considered a lost object that you would need to return. Roin baderech hu delo avu aveda. Grazing by the road is not considered lost. Harotza baderech, but if it's running by the road, viroe ben akram, or if it's grazing in a vineyard, both of those scenarios, havya aveda, would be considered lost, and you would have to return it. But ema seifa. What about the seifa? Chomer v'chelav afuchim. Okay, a donkey with its load flipped over. Ufara rotza ben akramim, and a cow that is running in the vineyards. Hariz aveda is considered. You have to do a shavas aveda. Rotza ben akramim hu havya aveda. Yeah, if it's running in a vineyard, that's where it's a lost. That's where it's considered lost, and you have to return it. Harotza baderech, but if it's running by the road, viroe ben akram, or grazing in a vineyard, einzo aveda. It's not considered lost. So what's pshat? In these two scenarios, running by the road or grazing in a vineyard, is it considered a lost? Is it considered lost, like the Reisha would have you think, or is it considered not lost, like the Seif would have you think? Hu. Amar Bai says, Abai, Yagid olav reo, the thunder will say about it. Alright. Was Rashi saying anything about this? Okay. It means that one can teach about the other. Right? That one can be implied from the other. Tanaroe baderech, so we say that grazing by the road is not considered an aveda. Well, guess what? And also grazing in a vineyard would not be considered an aveda. Tana rotza ben akramim, and when it says running in the vineyards, the havya aveda is considered an aveda of huadin lirotza baderech. The same thing would be for if it's running on the road. So whenever it's grazing, it would not be considered an aveda. Whenever it is running, it would be considered an aveda. Rav says tabai iyagid olav reo. If that's really the case, that we're saying that that we can extrapolate one or apply one to the other. That when we're talking about grazing by the road, the same thing would be grazing in a vineyard, and we're talking about running in a vineyard, the same thing would be running on the road. So lesne kilta v'choshkin chamirta. Well, if that's the case, then the Mishnah is listing the wrong things, is giving the wrong examples. If we're saying that both when it's grazing by the road as well as when it's grazing in a vineyard, it is not an Aveda. And when it's running in a vineyard, as well as when it's running on the road, it is considered an Aveda. Well then, why is the Mishnah teaching about grazing by the road and running in a vineyard? Teach the opposite ones, and for sure I'll be able to know the other ones. Right? From Kal V'chomer. Lesnei rotzo b'derech dehavi Aveda. Say that even when, Rotzo b'derech dehavi Aveda. Say that when it is running on the road, it is considered lost. Certainly if it's running in a vineyard where it can get hurt, so certainly there it's going to be considered lost. And say that grazing in a vineyard is not considered lost. Simply when, and certainly where it's just kind of like grazing by the side of the road, which I guess is a more appropriate place, it would not be considered lost. So Rava is not super excited about Abaye's approach because it just doesn't, according to Rava, it's not adding up so good, right? To apply one to the other, but if that's the case, then the Mishnah really should have given the other examples. So Elo Amar Rava rather says Rava Rotze lo kasha, right? That the fact that the Reisha implies running on the way, running by the road, is considered lost, but the Sefer says running by the road is not considered lost. That's no problem. It depends. If it's running towards the woods, away from town, well, yeah, then it's lost. If it's running towards town, then it's not considered lost. And also grazing in the vineyard. Initially we said would be, right from the Reisha it sounds like it would be considered lost. From the Sefer it sounds like it wouldn't be considered lost. That's also no problem. Kan ba'avedas gufa, kan ba'avedas karka. When we're talking about lost or not lost, it's different depending on if we're talking about losing the property, i.e. damaging the property, the vineyard, or if we're talking about losing the animal itself. Is the animal itself lost? Where am I? When we say grazing by the road would not be considered lost, but grazing in a vineyard would be considered lost. That's talking about the property, that the property is going to get ruined. And when we say that running in a vineyard is considered lost, but grazing in a vineyard is not considered lost, it's talking about the animal itself would not be considered lost. That if it's running in the vineyards, it can get hurt, on the vines I guess, but grazing in the vineyard won't get hurt. But when it's grazing in the vineyard, granted that it might not get hurt, but typically mishum avedas karka, but it's going to ruin the vineyard. So why is that okay? So bidikusi. Well, it's talking about the vineyard of a kusi, and it wouldn't be a problem. V'tepukle mishum avedas gufa. Yeah, but still, I mean, if the cow is grazing in somebody's vineyard, well, that somebody might kill the cow. They might kill the cow, so you should try to get it back to its owner so it doesn't get killed. Well, it's a place where they first warn before killing it. They would warn the owner, say, hey, owner guy, your cow's in my vineyard. One more time and it's dead. Okay, maybe they already warned him and now it's time for it to be dead. Well, if they had already warned the owner of the cow and he didn't really pay so much mind to it, he didn't care, and he let it go back to the vineyard, well, certainly that was it was intentional, and you would not need to return it in that case. Okay, so now this next big chunk is not particularly difficult. So we say if you returned it, but then it ran away again. You returned it again, it ran away again. Even 4 or 5 times you still have to keep returning it. One of the rabbis says to Rava, maybe when it says by Hashavas Aveda Hashev Teshivim, maybe Hashev means you return it once, Teshivim means you return it a second time, but that's it. Once already, it's ran away twice, forget it, you don't have to keep doing it. Amalei, so Rava responds, look, Hashev afilu kuf paimim mashma. When it says hashev, that means, even if you have to return it 100 times, it doesn't matter. Keep on returning it. Teshivim, when it says teshivim, ainli elu leveso. All I know is that you return you return it to the person's house. Leginoso, l'churvaso minayin. How do I know that I can even return it to his garden or to his, what's a churva? Like an abandoned house or something? Tamalom teshivim mikol makom. It says return it, right? Hashev teshivim. However, you return it even leginoso v'lechurvaso. Hey chidami. Now, what are we talking about? Either mintra, if the gino or the churva is guarded, pshita, obviously you could return it there. So either lo mintra, and if it's not guarded, if it's exposed, well then why are you allowed to return it to there? It can just, it's not protected at all. So the olam de mintra, so it is talking about where it's protected. Vakamashmalon, and what it's teaching us is the loba inan das bailim, and you don't need das bailim. Let's go weiter. Like Rabbalazar, the Omar akol tzrichen das bailim. Whenever you return something, right? For example, and if you borrow something and return it to its owner, the owner needs to know that you've returned it to them. Chus me Hashavas Aveda, which is not the case by Hashavas Aveda, Shator Ribsa Hashavas Harbe. The Torah says, Hashav Teshivim, you shall surely return it, that it even comes to include where the owner doesn't know about it. I'm imagining, something like, if a person lives in a building with a doorman or something, you can leave, if you're doing Hashavas Aveda, you can leave it with the doorman. So it's protected, right? There's somebody, making sure it's protected, but the owner might not know about it, but Hashavas Aveda, as long as it's given back in a protected manner, that would be enough. Shalach to shalach, this is talking about shiluach hakain, sending away a mother bird before taking the baby bird. So shalach to shalach, so ema shalach chadazim and to shalach treizimne. When it says send it away, that means one time. To shalach is the second time, right? So if he keeps on sending it away and it keeps on coming back, you already did it twice. You could just take the babies without sending it away a third time. So Amalei Shalach Afilu Meya Paimim Mashma. So I think this is probably still Rava. So he says that look, Shalach means even if you have to send it away 100 times, send it away. Meya Paimim Mashma. Tishalach, when it says you shall surely send away Ein Li'ela L'Davar Rishus. Well, all I would know without that is that if you just want the birds to eat it or whatever, so then send away the mother. But L'Dvar Mitzvah Minayin. How do I know that even if it's for a mitzvah, you'd have to send it away? And if I understand correctly, I looked up in the article, if I understand correctly, I think maybe it's talking about, like, for example, for a mitzorah, so if you need 2 birds, so I guess the baby bird and the mother bird you want to use, you wouldn't just be able to take both of them, you'd have to send away the mother, take the baby, and then you could take the mother. I think maybe that's what it was saying. So Tamalom Tishalach Mikomakim, you shall surely send it away, even for a mitzvah, you still have to send it away. One of the rabbis said to the Rava, when it comes to rebuking a fellow, so maybe you only have to give him tochacha twice. Once you've done it twice, you're done. So Rava responds, when it says is rebuke the right word? I don't know. Give feedback. Feedback, that's nice. Give feedback, even if you have to give the same feedback even 100 times, you do it. Okay, so I would know only that a teacher gives feedback to his student. How do I know that even a student can give such feedback to his teacher? You shall surely feedback mikol makom. Azov Tazov Imo. This talks about if you see a fellow whose donkey is collapsing under its burden, so you shall surely help your fellow unload the donkey. Ein li ela bailav imo. All I know is that I need to help him out if he's going to, right, if the owner is also helping to unload the donkey, so I can help him, we'll do it together. She'ein bailav imo minayin. How do I know that even if the owner is not contributing, I still need to do it? Azov Tazov Mikomakom. So it says, you shall surely unload. Hakim Sakim Imo, you shall surely load, right? If your friend needs help loading his donkey, you shall surely help him. Any Ella Bailav Imo. All I know is if the owner is going to help and do it with you. How to know that even if he's not going to take part in it, you still need to do it? You shall surely do it. How come I need both the scenario of unloading as well as loading? I need both of them. If we only have the scenario of unloading, I might think, okay, I understand why in that case I need to help him unload it because there's tsar b'alei, right? Clearly the donkey is collapsing. So quick, help unload the donkey. And secondly, the longer the donkey continues to collapse, the more potential there is for long-term damage. So, which would be a financial, which would negatively affect the owner financially. So, therefore, I understand why in that case you should help him unload the donkey. But loading the donkey, that if you don't help, there's not going to be any tsar b'alei chayim, v'lo chesun kisika, and if you don't help, he's not going to lose, it's not going to cause him to lose any money. So I might think I don't need to help him, so therefore we say, no, you still do need to help him there. And if you would have loading the animal, mishum de besacher, because he can get paid for helping load the animal. Haval prika, but unloading the bechinam, which is free, so maybe I don't need to help, if after all it's only for free. So tzricha, therefore we say, so therefore the Torah teaches us specifically about unloading as well as loading. And according to Reb Shimon, who says that no, even loading the animal is for free. You can't get paid for that if you're helping out in this manner. So then why do you need both unloading and loading, right? So in that case, just teach me, what was it? Unloading, and then certainly I would know loading, right? That was the one. If I know unloading, I don't know, I'm confused now. If I know unloading, no, for carrot, I think, right? Teach me loading. Yeah. What? I don't know, I'm confused. Wait, what? Well, the whole thing was that we said, well, since you can get paid for unloading, so I know that, right? What now? I just confused myself. Oh gosh, wait, am I seriously getting confused right now? The whole thing was, if I only had loading, that's because I can get paid, but I would need to teach unloading, where I can't get paid. Now, according to Reb Shimon, who says that for loading, you can't get paid, so then why do I need both of them? I guess teach me loading and then certainly unloading? Would that be the point? Yeah. Right? Right? Because if we only had, initially we were going to say if we only had loading, so I would say, yeah, that's because you're getting paid, but unloading not, so therefore I need to say unloading also. But if you're not getting paid for loading, and we're saying you have to load, then certainly you would have to unload because there's tsar b'alei chayim and all that stuff. So just say loading. Yeah, I think that's probably shot, right? So why do you need both? So the answer is that Reb Shimon Amar Afteina Bechinam Smaikal Meimus. So Reb Shimon Lo Masaime Kra. So according to Reb Shimon, it's because the pasuk is not clear which one's which, right? Meaning all it says, what does it say? It says Azov Tazov and Hakim Sakim. How do you know which one is unloading and which one is loading? So if you only had one of them, so I might think that's unloading because it's tsar b'alei chayim, but you don't actually have to help load. So lamali lemichtav, where am I? So lamali lemichtav hani tarti. Wait, what? I'm losing it. Reb Shimon lo mesayme kra lamali lemichtav hani tarti v'lamali lemichtav. Dude, I am so lost. Reb Shimon amar aftina b'chinam Michael. Maybe Reb Shimon lo mesayme kra. Period. Right, because according to Reb Shimon, the verses are not clear which one's loading, which one's unloading, and if I only had one of them, so then I wouldn't know which one it is. I might think it's just unloading. I wouldn't know about loading, so therefore we need to have both to say, okay, well clearly one is loading, one of them is unloading. Now why do I need loading and unloading and also Hashavas Aveda? Can't I just have one? So tzricha, we need them. If we would only have loading and unloading, mishum de tzayra demara isa tzayra dida isa, because there is pain to both of them, right? Meaning, let's say you have a donkey that is collapsing under its load, so I can understand why I have to help out, because the tsar bar lechaim, it's painful for the donkey, and also the owner, right? He's in trouble, so you have to help out both of them. How about Aveda, the tzari demara isa, tzari dida lesa, but by an Aveda, by a lost object, which is obviously, negative for the person who lost it, but the object itself is inanimate, or it's an animal, right? It makes no difference. So lesa, so emalosa, I would say maybe I don't need to return it. V'yashmin and Aveda, if I would only have a lost object, because I don't have, right, because the owner isn't there, so I have to do it. But by loading and unloading the Isa Lamar Baida, that the owner is there, maybe I don't have to do it tzricha, therefore we need all of these scenarios. Mosyuma Samake, when we say that so if somebody kills somebody else, so then we kill the killer. So so all I know is by the death that is written by it, which is the sword. How do I know that if you're unable, I don't know, there's no swords available, but there's like, sledgehammers or something? So how do I know that you can use that? Is that the point? Maybe. Tamlomar, most yumas mikomakim, you shall surely kill him. What, you can even kill him with like a sledgehammer? Wow. Yizok bochetz or letovo, or you could drown it. Wow. Says Rashi, right? Which is a sword, if he was running away on a boat, you can shoot him with an arrow, or letovo, or to drown him. Wow. Most yumas, so okay, however you do it. So when it comes to Ir Nidachas, right? So in Ir Nidachas is a city that too many people are worshiping Avodah Zarah, so you have to kill everybody by the sword. All I know is about sword. How do I know that if there are no swords available, you can use other ways of killing them? It says however you got to do it. Toshiv. When it talks about accepting a collateral, right? If you loan somebody money, we're going to learn about this, I think, later in BavaMetzia, that if you loan somebody money and you take a collateral, so let's say it's like a shirt or something, so you have to return that shirt for him to be able to use it, right? Okay, let's go right there for a little bit. So I only know about this halacha if you took the collateral, in Bezdin, with Bezdin. With Bezdin being part of it. Mashkino Shalo Birshus Bezdin Minayin. I don't know if even Bezdin is not part of it, still these same halachas apply about returning it. Tamla Mahashiv Toshiv Mikomakim, you shall surely return it. Chabul Sachbol, and this seems to be the same thing, that you shall return the collateral to the person. In the other Shamashkino Birshus, all I know is if he took this collateral with permission. I assume that this is talking about permission of Bezdin. Where am I? Mashkil shelo b'rishus minayin. I don't know that even without the rishus of Bezdin that you still take this, that you still return it. Tamim machabel sachbol mikol makom, that you have to give it back to him in any scenario. Okay, right. So chabel. Well, I'm going to read this again. Chabel sachbol. So I just looked at the article quickly. So it says to procure. So you shall surely procure, but in that scenario you have to return it to the person. So if that's only with the rishus of Bezdin, mashno shelo b'rishus minayin. I don't know, even if it's without Bezdin, you still have to return it. Tamilom chabel sachbol, shall surely procure, so that in that scenario you also have to return it. Okay. So now why do I need both of these? Chad l'ksus yom, chad l'ksus laila. One for a day garment, one for a night garment. Meaning, okay, so here we go. So this is what I was getting at, or I wanted to kind of get to, which is that if it's a daytime garment, so then you can kind of have it as collateral at night, but you're going to have to give it back to him to wear during the day. If it's a nighttime garment, so you can hold it as collateral during the day, but you're going to have to give it back in order for him to use that at night. So we need these two verses, right? Hashiv Toshiv and Chabel Sachbol to teach both about a daytime garment and a nighttime garment. Pasuach Tiftach, you shall surely open up your hand to give tzedakah. In the elad la'aniyah irchad, I only know to the poor people in your city. La'aniyah ircheres minan. How do you know that you even have to help out people in other cities? Tamlam, but pasuach tiftach mikomakum, you shall surely open up your hands. Nason titain, you shall surely give. In the ela matanim meruba, all I know is a large gift. Wait, what? It's a tzedakah, to give like a lot of money. Matona muetes minayin. How do I know even something small? Tamilum nosun titei mukomakim. You shall surely give, in any size. Hanik sanik. By an Eved Ivri, it says that when the Eved Ivri goes free, so you give him severance and you give him stuff. Ainli elish and his baruch habayis beglalo manikim. All I know is that if while the Eved Ivri was there, he brought blessing to the house, then you have to give him severance. Lo is baruch habayis beglalo. But if the house was not blessed on account of the Eved Ivri minayin, how do you know that still you have to give severance? Ta'amlo mahanik sanik mikomakum. You shall surely give severance even if there was no blessing. So according to Rabbi ben Azariah, who says that no, only if there was blessing, right? Because the pasuk says, what does the pasuk say? Wait, what? No, not this. That which God blessed him, blessed you, give to him. So meaning, so Rabbi ben Azariah says, look, only if there was blessing in the house does he get the severance, but if there was no blessing, he doesn't. So why do I need the double lashon? So dibur Torah k'lashon b'nei adam. Well, it's just a way that normal people speak, right? There's a Gemara we saw in Masechta Kedushin, right? Normal people, they just say hanik sanik. Havit havitenu, shall surely lend to him. Ein li elisha ein lo virotza lis parnes. So all I know is that you should lend to somebody who doesn't himself have the money, and he also doesn't want to sort of accept donations. He wants to take a loan, so you give him a loan. So give him a loan. But a person who has the money, but he does, and he doesn't want to receive any kinds of donations. No, sorry, he doesn't want to support himself with his money. So, the first case is talking about somebody who doesn't have money, but he also doesn't want to be supported with donations, so give him a loan. But how do you know the person who does have money, but he doesn't want to use his own money? How do you know you can still give him a loan? You shall surely give him a loan. Low. And according to Shimon, who says that if he has the money but he doesn't want to use it, so we don't have to give him a loan. Tavitenu lomali. So why do I have the double lashon? Dibitor kalashu b'nei odom. It's just the normal way that people talk. All right, I'm going to hold it here. I'm exhausted. I'm going to stop here because I do want to. I'm not considering this daf done because I do want to get up to the Mishnah, but I haven't done it yet. I'll do that today. It's right before Shabbos, but I'll do it, I guess, on Sunday. It's just a little bit further. It says the Mishnah, Yobotum and Asela Lo Yomalo Tainli Sela Ele Nosin Lo Schar Kifoil. Okay, fine. So if so the guy, the finder, he is like doing work, right? He's like a lawyer or something like that, and as a lawyer, he charges a certain amount per hour or whatever. Now, the thing is, he's going to be stopping to do his work in order to return this thing. So the question is like, so now what? Meaning the lawyer is a lawyer, right? He charges by the hour, and this is his job. This is what he likes to do. His normal day, he works, let's say, 8 hours a day, and he works for 8 hours, and this is what he does. But now you're asking him to stop doing what he does in order to go return a lost object. Normally he charges, a certain amount per hour. Now he's going to be charging, now he's not going to be making that kind of money, because he's busy returning a lost object. So if normally he would, make a sela every single hour as a lawyer, lo yomar lo, so he can't say tainli sela, so he can't say, look, well, I forfeited a sela in order to return the lost object, therefore you have to pay me a sela. Elanosilo schar kifoil. Rather, he gets paid like a worker. The question is, what exactly does that mean? So Tana nosilo schar kifoil bottle. You pay him like a worker who's not working. But my kifoil bottle. What do you mean by like a worker who's not working? The finder is not doing nothing. He's busy returning an object. He's not doing nothing. So mabai kifol bottle shall osa malacha the bottle mina. Okay, like a poil bottle of the malacha that like a lawyer who's not working. What does this mean? So be'etzim, what it means, it's hard to read it exactly into the words, but be'etzim, what I understand that it means is that Okay, so this guy's a lawyer, okay, and he bills by the hour, 1 sela every single hour, okay. I think a sela is like 4 dinars, okay. So he charges a sela every single hour. So now the question is like this. Look, he's a lawyer. He likes being a lawyer. There's a reason why he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer because as a lawyer, he knows that he could bill a sela for every single hour, and that's worth it for him. And and this is how he spends his days, working to make a living, expecting that every single hour he's going to make a sela. Now, let's say you say to him, look, you're a lawyer. Being a lawyer is difficult. You have to use your brain. You have to sit in an office. How about this? How about for an hour, put aside your lawyer hat and take a much easier job. Go outside, take a walk down the block, and return an object to somebody who lost it. It's a much easier job, and do that instead. He'll say, okay, look, I mean, I get it. It's nice. It's easier. It's easier than being a lawyer, but it doesn't pay as well. And like, there's a reason why part of the reason why I'm a lawyer is because I could be making a sela every single hour. A person walking something down the block, maybe it's nice. He could be outside. It's easier. It's not particularly strenuous, but it's not going to pay what I want to get paid. So we say, okay, fine. How about this? What if we meet you in the middle? Is there a price that would be worth it for you to stop being a lawyer for an hour and instead be a lost object returner for an hour? Get outside. It's much easier. Take a walk down the block. And, let's say if instead of making a sela during this sort of more chilled out hour, what if we, normally, let's say a person who walks something down the block would make a dinar, which is a quarter of a sela. What if maybe, what if we gave you 3 dinars? What if we gave you 3 dinars? So it wouldn't quite be the sela that you would get as a lawyer. But then again, you're also basically able to take a break, let's say for an hour. And so what if for you to take a break for an hour and to walk something down the block, instead of your normal sela that you would make, we would pay you 3 dinars, so 3/4 of what you would make. Would you be willing to do that? And you say, yeah, okay, I'd be willing to do that. So that is what that's what he can get paid, right? Is basically the amount that he would be willing to take to be batel to not be a lawyer for an hour and instead to be a lost object returner for an hour. Whatever that amount that he would be willing to take to stop being a lawyer for an hour, that is what he's entitled to. Okay, fine. All right, where are we? Okay, so going back to our lawyer friend. So we said that what he's entitled to is the amount that he would be willing to accept to, walk something down the block for an hour. But we said that if there are, so Rashi, I think on the Mishnah made it sound like just any 3 people that are there, right? Rashi had said, right? Where am I? What did Rashi say? Im yesham shlosha b'nei adam yasne b'fneim v'yomar. That's right. That's what Rashi says on the Mishnah. So it sounds like if there's just 3 people there, he can say to them, look, 3 people, I'm a lawyer. I charge a sela for every hour that I'm busy working, and that is what I expect to receive for the amount of time, for the hour that it takes to return this lost object. I'm only willing to do it for a sela, so he can do that. Okay, so if there's 3 people there, he says to them, so interestingly, it sounds like he says to them, look, I'm letting you know, 3 people, Bezdin, that I am going to return this lost object, but I do expect to get paid my full sela. So interestingly, it sounds like he can do that, and then the loser will have to pay him that full sela, which is interesting. Okay, so Isser v'Rav Safra Ovid Isko Badi Adadi. So Isser and Rav Safra, they went into business together. Right? They bought a bunch of merchandise, and they went into business. Okay, it came time for the business for them to go their separate ways. They were done working together. So also Rav Safra Polagle below Daite de Isser. So Rav Safra went and he divided up the assets. And he did this without Isser's knowledge. Okay, you went and he got an evaluation for the assets, and he was going to take, based on the evaluation, he was going to take 50% and leave the rest of it for Isser. So by trade, he did this in front of two witnesses, not in front of a bezdin, but in front of two witnesses. Okay, that the witnesses would just be there to testify that this happened in a fair and square manner. Also, the Rabbi Bar Rafuna, so the case came before Rabbi Bar Rafuna because I guess Isser was not happy that Rav Safra just went and evaluated it, without his knowledge, and he wasn't. I guess Isser was not convinced that this was done fairly. So Rabbi Bar Rafuna says, Zil Aisi Tloso, the Palgas Kamayu. So Rabbi Bar Rafuna says, okay, well, Rav Safra, surely you must have made this division in front of three judges. So bring those three judges, and let them, confirm that this was done fairly and squarely. Inami, alternatively, Trey Migo Tlasa. Alternatively, at least bring two of the three judges so that they can, they will serve as witnesses that this in fact did happen in front of them, plus a third. Vinami, alternatively, Trey Sadi de Palgas Baipe Beitlasa. Alternatively, bring two witnesses who can testify that you had divided this up in front of three judges. Okay, so Be'etzem, it sounds like the expectation, Rabbi Bar Rafuna's expectation was that this needed to have been done in front of a bezdin. So Rav Safra says to Rabbi Bar Rafuna, says, wait, hold your horses. Three judges. Where are you getting this from? So Rabbi Bar Rafuna says, well, the Tanan. Well, we learned in our Mishnah by Hashavas Avedo, Im Yesh Sham Bezdin, that if there is three people there, if there's a bezdin over there, so masna b'fnein, so then the finder makes this tanai in front of them and says, look, I'm expecting that the loser is going to pay me a full sela, which is what I normally make in an hour. So I expect that I will be paid a sela, and then that works. So it sounds like the idea is that whenever there is going to be financial implications for a third party, in the case of Hashavas Aveda, it's going to be the loser who's now going to have to pay a full sela. So that has to be done in front of bezdin. So here also, Rav Safra is dividing up this merchandise, and obviously it has implications for Isser, and therefore it would have to be done in front of three. Ein sham bezdin b'fnei miyasne shelo kodem. Okay, fine. If there's no bezdin over there, so then he can just keep on working. Fine. So now Amar le midami, to which Rav Safra says, wait, but these cases are not analogous. Also, demapik mamona mehai umosiv lahai bo'inin bezdin. Look, in our Mishnah, where the finder, he's basically he's making the loser pay him a sela. That's like some pretty serious stuff. So that needs to be in front of bezdin, right? Meaning the finder expects that the loser is going to have to pay him a full sela for his time. Like, that's a pretty serious thing. And therefore, that has to be done in front of bezdin. But over here, Didi Shakli, Gilimilsa Ba'amu, Betray Sagile. Whereas if Safra argues that in this case, this is literally, I own 50% of the merchandise, I'm just taking my own things. I shouldn't have to do that in front of three judges. I should just need to do that in front of two witnesses who can attest to the fact that this was done fairly and squarely. And that's all that we should need. After all, you should know that we learned in the Mishnah, if you have a widow, right, that her husband passed away, and of course it says in the Ksubeh that if he passes away, she will be supported from his estate. Now he has sons, and the sons inherited the estate, but she is permitted to be supported from the estate. And it says that she can sell she could sell from the estate in order to get cash to pay for her food. And you don't need a bezdin for that. How come? Because it's her own stuff. She has a right to this. She has a right to be supported from the estate, and therefore she could sell it without bezdin. So here also, Rav Safra is arguing that half of the merchandise belongs to him. He's evaluating it and taking it. So and therefore two witnesses should suffice. Abaye says to Rav Safra, One second. You're seriously, wait, don't bring, you're bringing a proof from that Mishnah. Didn't we learn about that Mishnah? Rav Yosef, Aman Yomi, Rav Nachman, Almone, Eina Tzricha, Bezdin Shel Mumchin. Then Amano might not require a Bezdin of experts, Aval Tzricha Bezdin Shel Ediotis, but she would require a Bezdin of just regular people at the very least. So I mean, yeah, so don't bring a proof from there that you should be able to get away without 3. Because actually there, she does need 3. They might not have to be experts, but they need to be people. They need to be 3 people. All right, friends, that was Daf Lamed Aleph from Masechet BavaMetzia. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.